Hey everybody, welcome to Colin's Creatures. This is a green iguana, and they are really awesome large lizards. And who wouldn't think they're awesome? They have these really cool large claws and a long striped tail, and they come in different color variations. This is a standard green variation, and this is a red variation, but they're all the same species. And they're also very hardy. And as much as I want an iguana, I'm never going to get one. So that's what I'm talking about today. The cons of getting a green iguana. But before I do that, let's talk about green iguanas in general. Green iguanas are arboreal, which means they spend most of their time up in the trees, which is what these large claws are used for. They help them climb. And they live in the rainforests of Mexico, Central America, South America, a lot of Brazil mostly, and the Caribbean, and they are invasive to Florida. Most of the green iguanas you'll find in the pet trade are farm raised, but this isn't your traditional farm. It's mostly an enclosed area that simulates the wild, so most of them have a wild temperament and can be quite moody. Male green iguanas are larger than the females and have a more robust appearance. They also have a larger dewlap, which is that skin flap that hangs from the bottom of their chin. In fact, this red one is actually a female, so you can only imagine how large the males are. And that also goes for their subtympanic shields, which are these large scales that are underneath their tympanum or their ear. And we don't really know what they're used for, aside from looking really impressive. The females are, as I said earlier, smaller and are more slender. Green iguanas can drop their tail, and their tail will grow back, but it won't look the same as their original tail. You can see the point where this iguana lost its tail, where it grew, and how it looks different. Green iguanas are herbivores, meaning they eat only plants, and that includes leaves, vines, flowers, and fruits like these apples, and conversely, the locals will actually eat them and call them tree chicken. So these green iguanas come to us from Forgotten Friends Reptile Sanctuary, and this is Jesse, and he is the director of Forgotten Friends Reptile Sanctuary. So Jesse, a lot of green iguanas are surrendered to rescues like yours, so why is that?
Well, these animals are very inexpensive to bring home, and they're very expensive to keep. When you see them at the pet store, they look like a little green mouse, and that little green mouse within a year or two turns into a little dragon. And they're going to get potentially 5 or 6 feet long. Keep in mind, these are females. I mean, this is a fairly large female, but the males are going to get a lot bigger. So they're going to get to be a lot to take care of. They're going to be very expensive. Right now, we're standing in about 150 square foot outdoor lizard lounge. It's 8 feet high with lots of climbing space. We have these nice basking rocks. We have climbing branches. There's a water tub that they like to soak and poop in about every day. So there's really a lot of work to keep these guys. And it's not easy to keep them friendly. I have been tail whipped by this exact tail more times than I can count, and it hurts. And that's not even counting all of her teeth. So every time I come out here, every single time, if she wants food, she has to let me pet her head. And you can see she's kind of resisting, but she's learning to tolerate it. In the beginning, she would be biting if I tried this, but now this is part of her socialization. If I'm going to handle her, if I'm going to feed her, she starts with getting her head rubbed, and she likes it, but she likes to pretend she doesn't.
So Jesse, you mentioned socialization, and I'm guessing that the iguanas that are surrendered aren't very well socialized, and is one of the reasons why they're surrendered in the first place.
Yeah, sometimes folks will bring home an animal, and we're called forgotten friend because they bring it home thinking this is their new friend, but they get busy, they get involved in other things, and that animal becomes forgotten. And when it's not handled every day, handling becomes very scary to the animal. If they're not well socialized, they will react defensively. And this one in particular, when we picked her up, she was, I would say, kind of socialized, and she still was biting and scratching and tail whipping when I first handled her. We had another iguana that was dropped off right here. The owner was trying to get it out of the box, and it jumped up and gave her a bite so severe that she had to get stitches, and that was just from handling him when the iguana was being dropped off with us.
Oh, wow.
So they have a powerful bite.
So here are some of the many cons of getting a green iguana. The first off is that they need a very large enclosure. So Jesse, how big is this outdoor enclosure?
We're at almost 150 square feet and just over 8 feet tall.
So what's all inside of this enclosure?
Well, you can see right behind us we have basking rocks. Down on the ground we have some basking rocks. Over on the side we have these branches. We have some big tubs for soaking. We also have a 300-gallon tub in here that's not for the iguanas, it's for the alligators, but this time of year they're set up inside. So they have tons of space. They have some mulch for digging if they want to dig or lay eggs. So there's really a lot going out here in our lizard lounge.
And if you keep them outside, they will get all the UV light from the sun, which they do need. But if you have to keep them indoors because if it's too cold, they may freeze. You will need a very large and powerful UV bulb that will have to be replaced frequently. So, of course, they are vegetarian, but in today's economy, vegetables can be very expensive. So, Jesse, how much do you suppose an iguana would eat daily?
Well, Colin, imagine you have a family of 4, and every single night, everyone's eating a full salad-sized plate of salad. And that's going to be all kinds of stuff. Dandelion greens, kale, collards, lettuces. There's a couple fruits you'd mix in as a treat. All kinds of greens for a family of 4 every single day. You can't store it in the shed for a month like you can dog food. It's a lot.
Yeah, and since they eat so much, they must make a lot of poop.
Yeah, they do. And it's not pretty. Have you ever changed a baby's diapers?
No.
So it's kind of messy. Imagine something in between the consistency of some chocolate pudding in a mud pit. It's something like that. There's worse smelling poops out there, but it is one of the messiest.
And like most reptiles, if they're properly socialized, they can be rather docile, and since iguanas are pretty intelligent for reptiles, even friendly. But since most of them are farm raised, they have poor dispositions because they're not socialized, and they can be very dangerous. They have very large claws that can cause scratches even if they're not trying to scratch you.
Yeah, so these claws, once they start climbing on you, they're not going to try to hurt you, but they can't help but dig in because these are claws that are meant to help them scale right up the side of a tree, and your skin is not nearly as durable as a piece of tree bark.
And they also have whipping tails, but we already talked about that. And they have a mouth full of teeth that is very strong. And while the teeth aren't as bad as, let's say, a monitor lizard's or a crocodile's, they're still pretty nasty. And when you have a lot of really sharp teeth going into you, it will hurt a lot and will cause a lot of damage.
Colin, have you ever had an iguana bite you?
No.
So when they do bite you, they don't just latch on, but they will grab on and they tug back and forth at full speed, and they give you the full power of that bite. So this is not a bite you want to be on the wrong end of.
So that is why I really want an iguana, but I'm never going to get one. So I'd like to thank Jesse for helping me out with this video and providing his iguanas. So Jesse, where can people find you?
You can check us out on YouTube at Forgotten Friend Reptile TV.
So that is why I really want an iguana, but I'm never going to get one, and why you probably shouldn't get an iguana. So, thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and I'll stick some on Colin's Creatures.